Hi, everybody. It's Bob Ost. It's Friday. It's May 23rd. We're heading into the Memorial Day weekend. And though we normally think about veterans and people that we've lost and all that, we're thinking about losses to the arts today. We're thinking about losses in our country. We're thinking about things that we that we valued and cherished that are being little by little taken away from us. We're going to be talking about the uh, we're going to be talking about the defunding of NAA specifically, but we're going to be talking about in general what's going on. The arts have never been popular in the United States to begin with, and now we're being battered somewhat. So before we get into all that, I just want to let you know that this is Theater Resources Unlimited. For those of you who don't know us and have just randomly found us on YouTube, welcome. We are an art service organization, and we're dedicated for 33 years now. We've been dedicated to help people navigate and understand the business of theater. We've always focused on producers, but we actually have programs for all theater artists and people who aren't necessarily in theater. We serve all manner of the arts. We also have no NEA funding, so I can't say that we've been affected, other than the fact that psychologically and emotionally we're all just feeling battered right now. I have people who are going to come in and talk about this. Three of them are with companies who have actually lost money, been had their funding rescinded by the NEA, by the government, actually, I guess by NEA, yeah. And plus a gentleman named Tooshar Swain who works with Americans for the Arts, and I think it's going to be a guiding light for us in this because he's the director of public policy at Americans for the Arts, and I think he might know a little bit more politically and have a little bit more political savvy than a lot of us do. So let me introduce you to my panel. I do want to also say that this is our Friday community gathering, which we started in 2020, April 17th. This is our 264th consecutive week of doing these. And we do them as a community service. I don't know how to change the world. I only know how to talk about what I think needs to change. So that's all I do. I basically have conversations every Friday. We've been talking for 264 weeks about various aspects of the arts. We talk about it, we have conversations, we get together, we become a community. And as a community, perhaps we can affect some changes. We'll talk about that too today. So let me see, let me start, let me bring on Tannis Kowalchuk from the Farm Arts Collective. There you go. Hi, Tannis. I had you on about a couple months ago, so you're back again, right?
Hi. Hi. Thanks for having me. Not a happy conversation today, I know. But maybe we can all, like as you say, just kind of find community together and maybe come up with some ideas and just forge ahead because I guess, with the message from the administration with these NEA cuts is that we need to stop. We should stop all our nonsense, and quite the opposite is going to happen now. I feel more invigorated, certainly with my. You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself? I was just about to
Yeah.
say.
Okay, sure. So I'm the founding artistic director of a theater space located on a working organic vegetable farm in Northeast Pennsylvania, really close to the New York border. So our community is really the Sullivan County, upstate area of New York, and the Northeast Pennsylvania, Poconos, Catskills, and the stuff in between. We go down to the city a lot with our food. We are a vegetable farm. Our farm is called Will-O-Wisp Organic Farm, and we also the farm supports the not-for-profit that I run. I'm a longtime theater maker of devised and experimental work, and for the last 12 years or so have really shifted into community engagement practice in my community, making plays about climate change, social justice, And pretty much that's what I'm working on right now with
So, in other
those two
words,
issues.
you're the perfect target for what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the funding that was rescinded was for a project called Dream on the Farm, which is a 10-year series of climate change plays. I am with my community ensemble creating one play every year about climate change. And we were entering our sixth year and our third year of NEA funding for the project. And we, like many, had received it. We had word of receiving it in December. We did the paperwork in January. And then it was like, I was sensing something was wrong because their communications were very unusual and spotty. And I'd usually had some certain paperwork by now. And I was like, something's happening. And lo
So
and behold,
I just wanted to say that the universe works in mysterious ways in my life, and the you would think it makes a lot of sense. The three different people that I have coming on who have lost funding, um, I was just getting emails from people from companies saying that they lost their funding, and um, it turned out that the three in a row that I got were a small company on a farm in Pennsylvania, Farm Arts Collective, the York Theater, which has been one of the companies that I've loved and supported for 25 years now, or probably longer than that, which is in New York, and the Drama League, which I mean, it just seemed well. This is random, and then I thought, no, it's not random. It's perfect. It's kind of perfect because we're seeing three very different perspectives of what's going on. I want to bring Bevin Ross in right now. So Bevin, give us a little bit of background about you and and your work with Drama League.
Sure.
And I
Hi.
probably should tell people what the Drama League is.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Bevin Ross. I'm the executive director of the Drama League of New York. We are a service organization for stage directors. We are one of the oldest service organizations in the United States. We're 109 years old, and we've been specifically focused on stage directors for a little over the past 40. And we provide residencies, fellowships, and assistantships to emerging and mid-career stage directors, as well as introduce them to the skills of directing TV and film. And I've worked with the Drama League for it'll be 6 years pretty soon. And I have been working in New York as an arts administrator and a fundraiser for the past 18 years in many different arts and culture organizations.
So it sounds like you joined the Drama League just before COVID hit.
I had a very short period of normalcy and then went straight into emergency planning. We gave emergency grants to our community. Stage directors are often not only underfunded, but ignored in the theater world. So we made sure that we were there for them during that very, very dark time. And then, we haven't really fully recovered. Our community there is less work, there is less access to funding or opportunities. It remains. And so I knew that the NEA was in trouble. I had enough warning that the Drama League, as such an old institution, we have always had NEA grants. I mean, we existed as an organization 60 years before the NEA existed. So we have a long history of being supported by the federal support systems for arts and culture in America. And so it was a huge blow for us, but it mainly psychologically, because it really made us feel like it was a vote of confidence for our organization, and it allowed us to say, we have this long track record of being recognized as one of the most excellent service organizations in the country, and the NEA does that for you. So having that be terminated, and my understanding is that most arts organizations that had either open or pending grants have been terminated at this point. We're not alone.
Jane said there's something like 530 of them that are identified on the website.
Yeah.
So
So,
let me do you mind? You have the biggest loss of the three people that are,
mhm.
are on the panel. You had $75,000 rescinded.
Correct. Because we have such standing in the community, the NEA has recognized us with one of the largest grants. And we built that over time, and we're very proud of being an institution that was receiving one of the largest NEA grants that were allowable for, arts and culture organizations like
Sounds
ourselves.
real good to me. I'll tell you, sounds real good. I'm gonna bring on Stephanie now. So, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about the York Theater and your connection with the York Theater. And also, I believe I'm trying to remember the emails. I think it was 40,000 that you lost.
30.
30,
We lost
30.
30. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, it's kind of a fun bit of a story. I actually just started at the York about a month ago. So I am brand new to the organization. And one of the very first weeks that I was there, we got two emails from the NEA that the funding had been revoked. One was already for a project that we had completed and had already received the funding for, thankfully. And then the second was for that $30,000 grant. I have actually been watching the NEA for a very long time. I have a history of development, and then I did a lot of research actually around nonprofits and the different funding sources that we have. And it's been a bit of a fever dream for conservatives, I would say, since the early 1990s, right? When we had the NEA 4, when we had Piz Christ with Andres Serrano, they've been anti-art for a very long time, and so I think
Somewhere in this conversation, I'd love to look at why that is, but we'll get to that later. At some point, I'm
yeah,
going to have all of you on screen.
yeah, yeah,
I've got a
absolutely.
method here. I've got a plan.
No, I love it. I love it. I was just saying, it's just, so I was aware that this was most likely going to happen. And I had already been thinking about ways in which the York could kind of activate our donor base, and reach out to the community to try to figure out how to move forward without the funding. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. I'm the newest member of the York team. So we've been around for 56 years. We produce only musicals, right? We do developmental readings, full productions. We have a thing called the Muftis, which is a very kind of pared down, in process
Can you tell us
work.
what the $30,000 was targeted for?
Yeah, so as a part of a reading series that we do that was in development for a actual production that we were planning to stage, and then we've had to pivot.
Okay,
So
well, we'll come back to all of this. I'm
yeah.
going to bring on Tooshar Swain now. Hey, Tooshar, you're in a guide. I see you as the guide, as our guide for this. I think I'm assuming you have a broader perspective on what's going on, but tell us about Americans for the Arts.
Sure. Thanks so much, Bob, for having me and for my fellow panelists. Just feeling terrible about everything that you all are going through. It's certainly an unprecedented time here in Washington, D.C., to say the least. But Americans for the Arts is an advocacy, research, and convening organization created 65 years ago. We are located in Washington, D.C. A lot of our history is around support and advocacy for the National Endowment for the Arts. And so we've certainly had a heavy heart after we had started to learn about what seems to be grants at least being rescinded since April 15th, and then two dates in particular with just a massive amount of grants being canceled and offers being rescinded on May 2nd as well as May 15th. And so we're working to to understand more. Well, lots of things that we're doing. We're working with Congress to try to to rescind these cancellations. We are certainly continuing to advocate for proper funding at the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as all of our cultural agencies, right? In some ways, the NEA has been hit the least hard. Cultural institutions like the Institute for Museum and Library Services, the National Endowment for the Humanities. And we advocate for arts education. So the Department of Education have unfortunately been dismantled through executive order or through the Department of Government Efficiency, or the DOGE. But still, nonetheless, this is a
The new Department of Government Efficiency.
Yes, exactly.
The wonderful. I guess it was Elon Musk's idea. We'll talk about all of this. I'm going to bring everybody else on right now. We're gonna have a conversation. Let's see. We got Tannis, we got Stephanie, we got Bevin, and then you're going to get me. I'm going to come on too. There we are. So let me pick up a few threads that I left dangling. First of all, Tannis, let's talk about Farm Arts Collective. How much you lost and what the money was actually designated for.
The money was designated for our annual climate change themed production, Dream on the Farm. Our budget's not huge. It's like $40,000 to produce it, and we lost $10,000. It was part of the Challenge America program, which they had announced was going to be cut in, like they said, it was going to be cut in 2026. So we were preparing for that we wouldn't have that funding for the following year. It's a grant that goes to smaller rural communities and arts groups and communities creating work. So that's what was cut.
I'm going to ask the same question of Stephanie. What was your money? I think you said what the money was designated for. I guess the question to you first, Tannis, is how are you going to make up? Do you plan on making up for it, or are you cutting the program? Or are you looking for a way of doing it?
No, we're doing it. I'm very, our organization is very nimble. It's still very small. I mean, there's a lot of us, but not a huge budget. And when I had made my press release and my announcement soon, like then a couple days after the letter was received, I received it on Saturday. I made a press release and an announcement to my community. Within about 4 days, people actually sent money in, and we made it up.
So you're already back.
Yeah, and I honestly, it wasn't even like a campaign or anything. It was just, I think people are just angry, and they want to protect the voices in their communities. And so, honestly, without asking, people helped us by making a large donations.
Well, already we got
large for them.
Already we got that hope that somebody was asking for. So thank you, Stephanie. How about you? What is your plan in terms of making up for the money that you aren't getting?
Yeah. So one of the things that we did is we immediately went out to our community of people. We posted on Facebook. We sent emails out as a part of just outreach. Right. I think the reality is that so many people want to help in however they can. And we had many people who did $20 donations, and we had some people who did $1,000 donations. And then we were very lucky to have our board president do a matching grant for a period of time over the weekend.
Yay,
and that
Jim.
was very helpful. I know, yay, Jim.
Yay, Jim.
But it helped us, right? We did. It's really also one of the first concentrated funding drives that we've done in a very long time at the York, other than like our galas. So we did see a very positive response from the community around us, and so we felt very uplifted by that. So we're planning. It does not make up for the full amount that we lost, but it certainly puts a dent in it, which is very helpful.
Which means that you plan on moving forward with it if possible.
We're pivoting. We've already decided to pivot, right? Because it was readings, a project that we had been developing in our reading series that we were then going to produce. And so without the funding, without the full funding, we are going to put that money towards more developmental pieces so that we're
Okay.
going to continue to develop new works because I think that's where we need to be right now, right? We need to continue to create and uplift more artistic voices as much as we can.
Bevin, same question to you. What was the 75,000 targeted for, and how are you going to make up for it, or are you going to make up for it?
So the 75,000 was for the Directors Project, which is our main artistic program that every year we select artists to participate in fellowships, residencies, and assistantships across the country. So I'm one of the lucky ones. I saw this coming, and it's a matching grant, right? So you have to, if you get $75,000, you have to spend $75,000. So I had already done that last November. So I filed all my paperwork in November, got my money by December, and closed it out before the current administration was in office. But what it does affect is my next one, because of the fact that we so consistently get this to our program. I put in my application for this next year in July of last summer, and I normally hear about it in April, and I haven't heard. And my program officer can't give me answers on when, if we will ever hear. So it's a chilling effect on my fiscal year 26, which begins June 1st in a week. And so I had to preemptively reduce my expenses for the coming year, expecting that the NEA will not be here. So that's how it has. I'm going to keep the project. I mean, it's the most important thing that we do. So
It's relatively new too. It was like 3 years ago, right? It started?
No, 43.
Oh,
yeah, the Directors
wait.
Project was founded in 1982.
Because when I was at a benefit for you, they were announcing a different. I guess there was another initiative that I thought was new.
The Directors Project is the umbrella name for all of our different programs, and inside of it, some of them shift or change their focus. So you might have been hearing about our Irene Gandy assistantship program, which is 3 years old.
Because we honored Irene Gandy.
Yep, and it places BIPOC young artists with established BIPOC directors so that they can train underneath them and assist them and learn how they operate within theater companies across the U.S. And it's a really great program. And it's a part of the Directors Project.
So to the room, I want to make sure that you know to put in questions and comments. And to Owen, if anybody has any questions or comments as we're going through this, call it to my attention. If I can fit it in, we will. If not, we'll answer the questions a little bit later. But Tooshar, here's a question for you because you may have a better idea than any of us. Somebody in the room wants to know. So what are they doing? What are they doing with all of the money that they're taking away? Where's all that money going to be going?
It's a great question, and we're still trying to figure that out. It's not just the grants that have been rescinded. It's the staff too. The staff has been cut by close to 50%. And we're trying to get information about exactly how how those funds are going to be used going forward. We haven't unfortunately heard. I think that
I mean, they're not going to be used to build a wall, are they?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that my guess is that there hasn't been a lawsuit yet. There certainly seems to be, and I am not a lawyer, but from many people that I've talked to, that seems to be something that is potentially on the way, and certainly grounds for it because these were contracts that were signed off by the federal government, and they've been breached. And I know that there are there is language that, allows them to break these contracts, but that simply, isn't the case here. Right. I mean, the grants that were canceled, is a complete shift in NEA policy. So, right, they basically canceled them on based on the fact that grants no longer adhered to this president's new priorities, and there were
That was
11.
it. That was the phrase that caught me. The president's priorities. What are
Yes.
the president's priorities? Can we talk about that?
So the president's priorities, according to a letter again by the NEA, not listed anywhere on their website, but what we are presuming coming from his executive orders are things like some things that sound, fantastic on surface level, but then when you think about perspective, it's probably going in a direction that we don't support. But things like, certainly HBCUs and Hispanic serving
Yeah,
institutions.
I have to ask about that. How, what, HBCUs and Trump is like I never thought I would say in the same sentence. So what is that about? He never seems supportive of that before.
He's been, it's interesting. He was supportive of increases in funding back in his first term. And that's something that he worked with Senator Tim Scott on, who was also a presidential candidate in 2020. Certainly, though, certainly it came a little bit out of the blue. The NEA did have a webinar, I would say back in March or so, that, specified HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions as a priority. I heard earlier, talking about the celebrating the 250th anniversary of American independence. I think that, many would think that that's a good idea if, of course, you have all of the different perspectives of the history of our country, things like fostering AI competency. But then you get to some of the priorities that are very much part of his campaign, such as making America healthy again.
Making America healthy again, but it's not giving vaccines. Okay,
Exactly.
that's great. That's a great policy.
Making Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. And
He
so,
loves that. He loves that word. It's so ironic that that would be one of that particular person's favorite words.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there are, like I said, there there are some items there that I think, under a normal presidency, I think that folks would certainly be supportive of. But we have to wait and see where those policies, actually go and what grants, Bevin mentioned that there's a delay. We'll see where these policies go and how they kind of affect the trajectory of grants in the future. But we still, regardless, still think Congress very much has a role to play here in terms of advocating for adequate and proper funding. And so that's what we continue to advocate for while we try to learn a little bit more, get a little bit more clarity from the NEA on how they intend to, move here over the course of the next year, finding out, Bob, like you mentioned, what what the funding cuts, what those funds are going to be used for. Ultimately, it's quite possible, right? Because they aren't, at least to what we think or have seen to this point, is that they aren't asking for funds back. So if funds have not been if funds, so if these are cancellations, it's just
Thank
possible.
goodness.
So again,
I said, thank goodness,
Oh, thank
because I mean,
goodness.
we spent ours. If they were asking for it back, where would I'd pull it out of artists' pockets, you know?
Yeah,
Well,
we've been told by the NEA that that is not
I want to move to some more things. I
yeah.
want to talk about the split in our country because it seems to be at the heart of what's happening is that there's a split that's always been there, but suddenly it's become just an we can't make it across this abyss that's split our two sides. I want to say something to Tannis because you were on my show and I interviewed you, and much to my surprise, you said that in your community in Pennsylvania, there are people from both parties who are all supportive of the work that you're doing. So, in a sense, that's another ray of hope for everybody. I've always said that politics is where people go to fight. Art is where people go to listen to each other and possibly come together. I don't think you're changing anyone's politics, but can you confirm the fact that you are having people from both sides of the political aisle who are supporting your work?
Yeah, I don't think we're having the people who have the fuck Biden signs on their lawn come, but they're the kind of the establishment, the economically established business people in my area are mostly a Republican community. And they support the arts, they support business, they support agritourism, which is my work is connected to that because we're bringing people to a farm to see theater. I wrote to my Republican congressman, and I wrote to him after a couple days after we were the funding was pulled, and I put together a strongish letter, I hope, and I got a reply. I don't know exactly, if it, I don't know who replied. It's like an aide, no doubt, but I'm gonna try to get him to the farm and get him to see the success of it and to appreciate it and to see this side, but without too much confrontation, you know?
Okay,
Not at a demonstration. Not to say that I do demonstrate, actually. I do also demonstrate. But in the situation of inviting a congressman to our farm, it would be in like, please meet us, hear what we're dealing with. This is who we are.
so there are Republicans whose heart is in the arts. Bevin, your experience with the Drama League and with the directors community, do you know everybody's politics? I mean, do you think that there's a division? Do you think that there's people that are coming together from both sides of the aisle?
I mean, my understanding is absolutely we have bipartisan support for the arts, and I think bipartisan support for our programs. I mean, we're lucky to be in New York City, where we have the largest support system for arts and culture in America. I think the people who are really suffering from this actually are Republican rural communities who only had NEA grants that were supporting their work. And we're lucky that we have, the city government and the state government providing substantial grants for the work that we do. So, yeah, I think that we do have bipartisan support for the arts and culture work that we do at the Drama League. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if one thing I can achieve today, if we can sort of get rid of our assumptions that everybody on the other side of the aisle is our enemy, that would be a step forward. Stephanie, same question to you. I know that you've only been with them for a month, but as far as you know.
Yeah, I think we have a diverse, uh, point of view that comes to the theater and sees York. I mean, I think arts and culture are the biggest bridge that we have between a multitude of communities. And so I think I can say relatively confidently, even though I've again only been here for a month with New York, is that we do draw in diverse points of view from our audiences.
Now, that said, the dominant voice in the Republican Party, at least the one that we think we hear the most often, is not supportive of diversity, definitely. I'm not sure about the arts. I'm not sure whether that crosses over or not. But we have a party that is vocally speaking out against diversity, a party that is vocally speaking out against trans the trans population, and stripping them of rights that they had just started to have in the past couple of years. We have a Republican Party's voice that we hear that's speaking out against talking about things that make them uncomfortable, like slavery. Don't offend my sensibilities by forcing me to look at slavery. We don't have any problem with that. I just don't want you to talk about it. Well, if you don't have a problem with it, then why do you not want to talk about it? And so many other issues that are startling. I mean, just startling to me. It's like I'm a gay man. I'm married. I'm suddenly looking at my marriage as being under threat. That's given what I'm hearing a lot on the other side. I'm hearing that there is a possibility that the Supreme Court is going to reconsider gay marriage and other issues related to the LGBTQ, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, community. So what do we think? What do you think we can do to get people to start or to stop attacking what I'm perceiving as attacking? Maybe they don't see it that way, but I'm perceiving it as attacking. Any thoughts?
Well, I gotta say, before the terminations happened for the NEA, when we were going to have to sign to certify that we were not conducting DEI or we were not engaging in gender ideology, and we knew that that was specifically targeting trans people and people of color, that we were giving grants to, it was very confusing because it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. I did not understand what they were saying or what I was supposed to be signing, because what even is gender ideology, really? So I got to say that although I really want the NEA to support us, I didn't want to sign those things. And so I'm grateful that those things were eliminated, because whatever they actually meant, it was impossible to know. Like, it was just so unbelievably confusing.
I know what it meant. Basically, is this makes us uncomfortable. Stop talking about it. That's
Yeah.
my view of it. Tooshar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I can certainly speak from the perspective of what I've seen, and certainly, there were two underlying executive orders that the NEA felt like that they at least initially had to follow, which was the executive order on to basically rid policies within the executive branch of diversity, equity, inclusion, and then the quote unquote woke transgender executive order as well. And I mean, I think this is where, like, I'm I remain optimistic, right? We've just talked about, how we know that support for the arts and really support for the NEA is a bipartisan endeavor. And so and also the arts have been fairly successful here in the early going as it pertains to lawsuits. IMLS has actually is bringing back in their employees next week after being dismantled, and grants are going to be continuing on. As Bevin mentioned, the NEA is not asking to certify on matters of DEIA and transgender ideology, and so But
But it's still worth noting that they thought of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That they
They thought of
initially
it.
thought of it.
They thought of it, and they are not, they are not going to fund. I'm not naive. I don't think for the next 4 years they're going to fund projects that deal with those issues. But I think that, my whole point on that is that the NEA is trying to be as lax about it as possible without, them breaking the law. And I say that as like somebody who knows the career folks there at the NEA who are very sympathetic to these issues, but are unfortunately very much hamstrung by these
Well, it's not the NEA itself that we're having a problem
right.
with. It's the executive orders and the government sort of imposing its own beliefs on that particular organization, on all organizations. They're basically trying to control. It reminds me of 1984. I mean, they basically are trying to control what we will perceive as reality in our world. They want us to see things their way. We want them to see things our way, but I don't think we're being quite as aggressive about it.
Well, I think that they're trying to definitely control the narrative,
Yeah.
and it's a fascistic way they're doing it. They're squashing and taking over. And I mean, it's interesting. One of the things I wanted to kind of highlight is a kind of larger perspective of funding. I originally come from Canada, and I never had to do any kind of fundraising in Canada when I was running a theater company there because the government, from all your levels of government, from your town to your city to your province to your federal government, would fund. And the the amount of money that is given to the arts per person in the United States is $5 per year. In Canada, the amount of money that is spent for one Canadian person per year on their arts experience is $124. And that United States is one of the poorest funders of arts of any industrialized country. So the artists and the artists or organizations have always had to diversify our streams of income. It's just like it's always been like that here. And so in some ways, we are so well positioned. If this happened in Canada, people would be screwed. They would not have this kind of diversity of foundations and individual support that they've cultivated and their donors and their grassroots $10 gifts. And so in some ways, we're kind of used to this. So we didn't get an NEA grant. We didn't get our Pennsylvania state grant. I mean, it's not that big of a portion of what we have to raise. So that's just like my perspective of
Yeah,
it.
many years ago when I first started TRU, we had Gigi, I forget what Gigi. Anyway, somebody from NISCA was talking about the most that an average arts organization can expect to get in terms of funding. The most would be 10% of their budget. It's never been much more than that.
Yeah, so we've always had to do that juggle and like any like successful farm, if you have one crop and it fails, you're screwed. So you want to have as many crops growing as possible and then diversify your production as much as possible
Streams of
so
revenue
that
for
if
us.
in case you have the big bad thing happen, you can like something's going to survive.
The big bad thing. Okay. We're gonna have to go to questions from the room because I want to at least cover some of them. Owen, are you there?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussion, not a lot of questions for the panel specifically. Though I do see Cornelia just raised her hand, so why don't we start there?
Okay. Oh, Cornelia.
Quick preamble. I made a documentary about a dance company, and in the new applications they received for NEA funding, they were asked to report on all evidence of DEI in their work, but more concerning, they were asked to list companies they collaborate with and to report on instances of DEI they'd observed in those other groups that they partner with.
McCarthyism. Great.
Yeah, so they're asking for not only self-reporting, but for reporting on other people. And I'm wondering if any of you have seen this yourselves.
I wasn't in this latest round of application. My next application will be in July. I wonder if that was the one that was just closed in March, which is that's scary. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to July.
Okay. I want to make sure that nobody, I mean, there's so much in the
Yeah, I
chat.
mean, Mary Ewan has had
Okay, so Mary
an
Ewan,
awful
listen,
lot to say. I think.
let's go back to this. Why are conservatives so anti-art? Um, any thoughts?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
first
it's
of all, let's confirm whether you believe that conservatives are anti-art. It feels that way to us. Are we misreading it?
I
I
think
think oh go ahead, Tooshar.
no, please go ahead. I'll follow you.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think we do have a history. I really do think we have to go back and look at the history of the attempts to defund the NEA because there is a long history of it. Of the reality is that art is meant to challenge us, right? It's meant to make us uncomfortable. And sometimes there are people that exist in our society that don't want to deal with that discomfort and don't want to be confronted with aspects that are uncomfortable. And I think we've seen a lot of pushback against the arts specifically because people don't want to think about their money funding things that they feel are either attacking them or making them uncomfortable or whatever it is, and that does tend to skew a little bit more towards people who lean right. And I think that if we want to really examine why we're in this position, we have to go back to the early 90s and look at where it started with the NEA4, with the Andre Serrano Piss Christ piece, when the government really started getting involved in who the NEA was funding, and really actively trying to control where government money was being spent. So that's just
Thank you for reminding me of Andre Serrano. Yes,
yeah.
there was a whole
It was a huge thing. That
thing. Yeah,
$15,000 grant that he got sent to Republican senators through the roof. Like,
and
how dare you fund this?
Karen
Karen
Finley.
Finley, Tim Miller, Holly Hughes, John Fleck, the NEA4 took it all the way up to the Supreme Court under the First Amendment, right? They had each received a $10,000 grant that had been revoked when the NEA, when the government got involved and were like, we don't feel comfortable funding this. So, I mean, it has historically skewed to the right, which is why I think we continue to see people dislike it because, as I said, right, I like art that challenges me. I want art to make me uncomfortable. And if we don't want to be uncomfortable, we don't want art in our spaces, right? I just think about people going to modern art museums and going, that's not art, I can do it. Well, if you can do it, then do it, right? Art has to exist. We are the only species in the world that creates art, and puts meaning behind it. We need it. And yeah,
So
there is a
let's
skew.
go back to the question about why people are threatened by art. You just suggested it. I mean, it can be challenging, and it can have points of view that they are not comfortable with. I always think that art is our salvation, though. I think it's harder to sit in a room and talk about your political views with somebody else. But if you put them on stage, then somebody's watching them, and they're giving them the opportunity to understand another point of view. They may not agree with it, but at least you're giving them the opportunity to understand it. I think there's a lack of understanding, and there's something very threatening about having to think about things in a different way than you're used to. I think for all of us, although I think most of us are a little bit more open to looking at things in different ways, which is why we're in the arts. Tooshar, any thoughts? Conservatives and art. Why do those terms not fit?
Yeah, it's a great question. Stephanie's right on point about the history. And I do think that from my perspective and what I've seen, take for example, the National Endowment for the Arts is when you talk to a Republican or a conservative member of Congress and you're talking about the endowment and you're focusing on I don't know, its history or the national effect of the endowment, whenever you're, talking about that DC component, they tend to not be, as supportive because they think that that it doesn't speak to the values of, conservatives and potentially their constituency. However, whenever you talk about art within their communities and the impact that the National Endowment for the Arts has for their, within their communities, at least 4-to-1 private to public investment in their communities, talking about the arts as an economic driver within their communities. The nonprofit arts sector is a $152 billion industry with many dollars that they pay particularly in payroll taxes to federal and state governments. They tend to listen and they tend to support, and I'll remind folks that President Trump tried to eliminate the NEA in his first, in every budget that he had from 2017 through 2020. And each time, not only was NEA funding not eliminated, each time there was actually a small increase. And I know that right, we can't think about the first term as parallel to this term, mainly because of Doge. And the implementation of Doge and the way that they're doing things. But I will say that in terms of leading the funding charge this year, it's been two Democrats and two Republicans in the House of Representatives who have been leading that charge. And so these are difficult times and, very, times full of stress and anxiety, but I still do have hope that Congress will do the right thing.
Tannis, do you have to leave in a couple of minutes?
Yep, I do. I just wanted to say I'm probably going to step away from applying to the NEA and changing any of my thoughts, any of my artistic instincts, any of my desires to support the people in my community of color. And so I'm going to step away from the NEA for a couple years so that I can kind of have freedom and it's too much. It's like those guidelines were just too much for me to take. I mean, I wanted to vomit. So yeah, I'm going to try to pursue my work without NEA funding in the next few years as I watch what happens. And um,
What bewilders me even more is PBS. Why?
yeah,
What do they have against PBS?
right.
I can see NPR to a degree because there is some politicism on that particular medium, but um, PBS, yeah, maybe there's a couple of shows that are political, but
Yeah.
what's political about PBS? It's a lifeline for like so many people
Liberal. It's liberal.
It teaches children to think.
It's
Natalie
liberal.
just made that point.
I guess
It teaches free thought, and
It's
that's
liberal.
scary.
I guess I'm so inured in the culture that I
Oh
don't
my
feel
gosh,
like there's
come
anything
over here to Pennsylvania.
unbelievable to me, just unbelievable.
But I'm going to have my Juneteenth presentation on June 19th. I'm having my play about a trans person June 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm doing it all, and I'm not going to be stopped
Good for you.
by this. And we'll just figure it out for the next 4 years or whatever. Yeah.
So you are Grazina's beam of hope. You are her hope.
I'm not stopping, and I'm not going to go into conversation with the NEA in the next few years. My friends ran a theater company in Belgrade during Milosevic's time, and they just said, no, we will not. We will refuse the money from this government. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. I'm not taking the money. And I kind of feel the same way. I don't want to go into any kind of even a conversation about it, about my art, the thing I care most about. I'll go into conversations about other things and I'll fight, but my art, no. And my community that I want to uplift, no. I'm doing it.
I completely respect that, Tannis. I think I'm going to do it the opposite, though. I think I'm going to keep applying because I want the NEA to know that I need them. I don't want them to say, oh, well, they didn't even apply, so they don't need us.
Fair
We
enough.
can shut it down. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to keep doing the work that we do, which is not going to change, but I'm going to apply.
Good.
I'm going to go back to
Respect
questions from
that.
the room, but I think that was a good exit speech, Tannis, if you do have to
All
leave.
right. Sorry that I have to leave all, but I have to go to another thing.
We're just gonna go a little
Thank
bit
you.
longer if it's okay with my other guests.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet everybody, and good luck to everyone.
Thanks,
You
Tannis.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Susan Crawford, your Simpson hand must be exhausted by now.
Well, I wanted to pick up on now I forget which of our guests brought up the early 90s. But if you go 20 years further back from that, you come to the beginning of what we're now living with in terms of, I don't want to name things here, but the blank nationalism fervor that is guiding the far right. And that all started, I mean, it's gone back way further back, but in the 70s, it was started to be encoded in something called the Seven Mountains. And so I just urge you all to Google Seven Mountains. What is that? And they will explain. But one of the things was about taking over control of what we're talking about, arts, broadcasting, TV, radio. So you may remember a few years ago, Sinclair Broadcasting took over a whole bunch of stations, and suddenly you saw all these boxes across the screen where every person, newscaster was saying the exact same thing. And that's really where the far right is currently on the arts too. It doesn't resonate for them. They just want to.
Well, we're already in a world, thanks to the internet, where critical thinking is just not even considered as an option. So there's no critical thinking happening. So of course they can convince an entire population of people to think whatever they want them to think.
And you're seeing them guide the Republican Party in their lawmaking.
So Cheryl Davis, I want to go to you because you had asked a half an hour ago. You had asked a question of Tooshar, and I'd like you to ask it.
Oh, I think he's kind of addressed it, and that was the point about where's the money going. And I think part of it was going to the America 250 campaign, because I believe a number of groups were told that you're essentially that the government's now choosing to support things that he favors, including America 250, and I think the statue garden
He who shall not be
heroes.
named.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think the statue garden, in which he's like picked very like two or three black people to make a point of that. And I think also to go back to the HBCU point, I mean maybe I'm a cynic, but I think that's his defense for showing that he's not racist. Because he supported them in the first administration. Like, how can you say I'm racist? I gave money to HBCUs. So that's my belief. Why HBCUs? Why Latino? We just pick very specific groups that okay, now you can't call me racist. Done.
He's selectively unracist.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. And Owen, are you still with us? I was afraid of this. Oh, you are. Okay. Have you found any other, because I see so much going on in the chat.
There's been a ton of discussion in the chat. I guess maybe, I would invite Marie to come on if her microphone is working now, because she has had so much to say, and if there's just anything that she would like to
Marie, is there anything you'd like to ask?
It's hard for me to encapsulate everything. I mean, as I've been listening, I've been like putting down my thoughts in the chat, just about a lot of different things. And I mean, it's like literature is coming true to life, like we're living in Harry Potter's world, and Dolores Umbridge, and what happened in book 5, and I mean, yeah, making all this big to do about a 250-year birthday celebration for the nation. It's like blowing your whole budget on a wedding that lasts for one day and you don't save enough for the deposit on the house.
I think we all have some agreement on that spending of that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all spectacle. I mean, like, where are the quiet moments? If everything is spectacle, then I mean, once in a while, spectacle is it's all very well and good and useful. But if everything is all bombast and spectacle, we're just living in a P.T. Barnum world.
It's basically Trump's peacock feathers. That's
Yeah,
all.
well, I mean, eventually those peacock feathers are gonna dull.
I find them pretty dull already. Stephanie Grayson, you have your Simpson hand up, so go
Yeah.
for it.
So, I'm like a very pragmatic person. And I feel like it's good to share how we're all feeling, and it's very important, the sense of community. It's really why I've been a member of TRU and appreciate TRU so much, because it's very important. But I do think, and I'm not trying to be cynical, that the way this is going, we are in the very early days of this year of this administration, and you already see like sort of, where it's going, and there's going to be, years of this. And I do think there are other avenues that are not governmental where we can look for support in the arts. And I'm not saying like give up or anything like that in terms of like, government grants and things. I think things are worth fighting for. But I think it might be also a really good idea to just look in places that you either weren't looking before, or tap resources deeper that you didn't think about before. Literally while we were on this call, because I was getting so itchy that I wanted to do like, what else can I do? I got onto my employer's like sort of like their good website. They have like a For Good program, and they match almost any donation you make to a nonprofit, including arts organizations. I wonder how many of us, if not ourselves, have friends, family members who are where they hold the arts to be important, that have similar matching programs. Because I feel like your chance to get funds matched by a business would be, I think at this point in time, I'm just being pragmatic, faster, quicker, less resistance than fighting with the government about it. So I just wanted to say that while we're on this call, I just looked it up, and TRU is listed. And hopefully in June, Bob, you'll see the donation with the matching amount.
Thank you.
But it's not, I'm not saying that so you'll say thank you. I'm saying it because I mean, it's fine, but I really feel like I want to do something. And it's upsetting to me to feel helpless and that we can't do anything, but I think we can do something. And if you don't work for a big employer, talk to your friends and families that do. I bet you they have a nonprofit matching program. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now.
I have two more hands that are raised.
Bye.
Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate your what you had to say, and also your support. Stephanie Weissman on the West Coast.
Hi, everyone. I mean, what a time. We're in a place where they just cut off all foreign students into Harvard. And I think it's so much bigger than what we're talking about. I mean, it's not bigger, but how are we going to stay alive? That's my question. We just got an insurance bill that was 50% higher from last year. So it's not just no NEA funding, not all these things. It's all these things that are going to be happening to our nonprofits and our institutions that are going to make it really difficult to stay alive. And so that's all I want to say. It's like this huge thing. It's not just NEA and the art.
Stephanie, can I just say that I think we all know that it's huge. The only thing I can handle within an hour conversation are the specific things that I was trying to talk about. I know that there's so much more. I mean, it's a horror story. I mean, I think all of us wake up depressed. It's like, oh God, got to get through another day with this administration. So yes, I agree with you. I think we're all aware that there's so much more going on. I don't know how much more we can talk about it without just like jumping out a window. But I saw Amy Stoller had wanted to say something earlier, and now she's disappeared. Amy, do you want to come back and say what you
Well,
wanted to say?
I haven't totally disappeared, but I had I had a brain fart and I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, that's why
I
you
apologize.
hand up, hand down. I thought you just got tired of waiting. Okay. If you think of it, let us know. Does anybody else want to address anything? Because it's late for us. It's getting towards dinner time. I have to go cook, as everybody knows by now. So, oh, and are you sure there's? Oh, I did want to say, Grazina Drabic says she was asking who was actually making those decisions about cuts. It's not just the federal government. Which specific institution whose name and title is on those notions orders to make cuts? We never really touched on that. I think that was a good question, Grazina. Did you want to? Oh, Amy's hand is back up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm starting to fade, but there was a thing in the Times today about, I think it was in the Times, about a lot of organizations that used to double, that would match people's individual contributions, no longer doing that. I'm very fuzzy on the details. I'm sorry. It's just the end of a long day, and I'm not entirely clear on this anymore, but I do remember reading something about it this morning. So I think there can be issues even now about matching donations.
Well, matching donations is something that a lot of us are aware of, and we don't pursue it as specifically as we could. And I think that was a great suggestion from Stephanie. I see so much in the chat. I think Maria's right. I think we need a cabinet secretary of the arts. It's not going to happen in this administration, but a secretary of the arts would be a wonderful thing, a wonderful step forward, I think. Looking, there's so much in chat.
Are there Secretary of Arts in other Western countries?
I don't know. I just think I love it. I just think it's a wonderful idea. I'm voting for it.
Commonwealth countries have them.
Did anyone answer the question about who's making those decisions about cuts?
I don't think we have the answers, do we?
Well, for the NEA, right? So it is important, I think, to note. It's a great question. The NEA made the cuts based on the recommendations of executive orders, executive orders pertaining to DEIA and transgender issues, quote unquote, and then also the reduction in force, their reduction in force executive order too. But it was the NEA who actually sent the notes to those folks who had their NEA grants canceled. And that's a little bit different than what we've seen, like, for example, the National Endowment for the Humanities, which actually some came from Doge, and then some came from an acting commissioner who really, is a Doge supporter. So again, it's not a place that we want to be at for the National Endowment for the Arts, but you still do have leadership and career folks who are trying to preserve the NEA over the course of the next several years. Because I think the one thing that I have learned, because I'd seen somebody mentioning in the chat about, why do we want to advocate for funding when you have a president who is going to try to defer those funds or impound those funds? And I'm very sympathetic to that answer, or to that thought, and I actually thought about that for the first time of myself, because it's intuitive to just advocate. But I think the answer is that one, you're letting the administration know that it's okay to do this because ultimately they don't actually want the funding. And then I think the second thing is that if you actually lower funding to, significantly, it is very hard to build that back up. And so, yeah, we have the 2026 election to make, our voices heard. And I just think that, I certainly respect and admire Bevin's thoughts on continuing to make clear that the NEA is important to us.
Well, I got to say, I think I'm going to publish the chat. I'm just going through it. It's like, guys, there's so much great conversation in the chat. I commend you all. I'm going to release you guys. Guma, thank you. Tooshar, thank you for coming in from Washington. But no, thank you for doing this for us. I've explained this to people. I get emails, and I always look at my emails, and sometimes they are not relevant to me, but other times I go, wait a second, I've got to have this person on my panel. So because I get emails regularly from Americans for the Arts, that's why you're here today, Tooshar. Just want you to know that. And Stephanie, been friends with New York for years and years. Like I've been going to New York since Janet Walker was running it, so I'm very connected to the York Theater. Bevin, I love the work that you guys do at the Drama League. I am a big fan of the Drama League. I'm a big fan of Bonnie. She's kind of like educated me a little bit about all the things that you do. So thank you all for being here, and belated thanks to Tannis. Well, she got thanked before she left. And I'm just going to, for a minute, I'm going to.
Thank you.
I'm going to, let me see. How do I do this? I'm going to have to unspotlight everybody. I'm going to get myself spotlighted so that I can say goodbye to my YouTube audience. Yes, I am my own technician. So thank you all. Thank you for everybody in the room for being here. We had a great turnout today. Just guys, so you know that over 40 people coming to this particular meeting that I do is very good. Very proud of the community engagement. So those of you out there who found us, watched this, and didn't mind hearing the things we had to say, there were probably some of you who did mind hearing it. But if you like what we do and if you want to be part of us, I can make that happen. Just email me. Email me at trunltd@aol.com. trunltd@aol.com. I'll put you on our Zoom list. Next week we have a simpler conversation. I'm just going to be interviewing Bob Cuccioli. A lot of you may remember him as Jekyll and Hyde, but he's one of my favorite people. And he's a great musical theater performer and a Shakespearean actor. We'll talk about some of that. In 2 weeks, I'm getting political again. I'm having a community gathering that's going to be about arts and education. And I've got things already booked through August and June and July. So I hope you'll come back and be with us every week if you can, or as many weeks as you want to join us. It's free because it's a community service. However, we do make it possible for you to support us by paying to come to attend this. We have just a great big $10 ticket that you can buy, and even that $10 will help us. Or you can join as a member. It's $95 a year. That helps keep us going as well. Or you can give us a donation just because you like us. You can go to TRU Donate, trudonate.com. And whatever you give us, we will be very grateful for. And I hope that I'll be seeing YouTube people. If you're just finding us, I hope you'll come back. And everybody in the room, great to see you, and hope to see you in the weeks to come as well. That's it, everyone. Thank you.